on, guys? Arekkz here and welcome to Anthem. For those of you jumping into the game for the first time today, I thought it'd be handy to put together a quick beginner's guide going over everything you need to know to get started. So if you do find this helpful, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below if you have any questions, and of course, if you haven't entered our giveaway for a chance to win a console of your choice, be sure to click that link in the description box down below.
Strong alone, stronger together.
Now let's begin. Anthem is a looter shooter set in a savage, untamed, sci-fi world unfinished by the gods. Humanity survive in small enclaves, and they form these different groups of factions. You play as an exosuit pilot for a faction known as the Freelancers, who, after failing to put a stop to a major cataclysmic event known as the Heart of Rage, have since fallen into distrust with the public eye. So it's up to you to use one of the 4 Javelin exosuits and keep the humans of Fort Tarsis safe from the dangers that lurk beyond the walls, be them savage beasts, ancient relics of the past, or even evil factions hell-bent on world domination.
A pity for you. Negotiations have concluded.
So how does this all begin? Well, first things first, you're going to need to choose a Javelin. Once you've worked through the game's tutorial, the kind of introductory segment, you'll then be presented with the option of either a Ranger, a Colossus, a Storm, or an Interceptor. The Ranger is essentially your all-round DPS weapons platform. They're capable of adapting to most situations, they have a good mix of defense, offense, and mobility. They're also the only class that has access to all 4 elements: frost, fire, lightning, and acid, and they excel at single target damage. So if you are new to the game, wondering where to start, the Ranger is a safe bet. The Colossus is essentially your tank and AoE DPS. They have the most HP, they have a dedicated shield that must be raised to protect themselves, and they can control the fight by killing smaller mobs, keeping bigger threats aggroed, and bolstering allies' defenses. They are your powerhouse, your iron wall, used to push your team forward in battle. The Storm is your CC, utility, and combo mage, for want of a better comparison. They're slightly more squishy, they're a little less mobile on the ground when compared to the other classes, however they are able to remain airborne and hover in battle for longer than any other Javelin. This is where they are most at home, this is where they're most devastating, and their elemental attacks allow them to fill multiple roles, so they're good at spreading debuffs, as well as dishing out devastating damage. And finally, the Interceptor is essentially your melee, mobility, support, rogue type class. Their fast mobility and their chain dashes allow them to avoid damage altogether, and melee allows them to stun lock some smaller enemy threats. The idea with this class is that you get in, you dish out high burst damage, and you get out, ideally before you've been hit. So if speed is your thing, this is where you want to start. So of course, as you progress throughout the campaign, you will be able to unlock all 4 Javelins, so if you decide to pick one and then later on you want to change your mind, you will be able to encounter them at different levels, but to begin with, that should help you get started.
Nice to be appreciated.
The next job is to understand your path and your activities. When you begin the game, you will work through Fort Tarsis, you'll speak to different people, they'll give you quests, and you can then head out into the world and embark on your journey. Your main story quests, these are your main missions that will drive the campaign forward. Your goal is to restore the Freelancers to their former glory and stop the Dominion from taking control of the Anthem of Creation and reshaping the world in their image. These are denoted on the map by these double triangles, and if you want to know how to work the story forward, these will be your core focus. However, outside of that, you also have agent quests. There are many factions, each with their own goals and agendas, and completing quests from their agents will earn you reputation with those factions, which will in turn let you access rewards and crafting blueprints. You'll also gain contracts. You can see these kind of like bounties, and these are essentially smaller missions. They change every time you load into them, and you can use these as kind of quick activities. If you don't have too much time, you can dive in, complete them, get some loot, and then come back another time. And if you want to change your pace a little bit, you of course have free play. You can head out into the open world, you can explore to your heart's content, take part in world events, go and find chests, defeat enemies, and basically everything you do will ultimately lead to more loot.
Truly impressive.
Of course, in the process, you will begin gearing up, and gearing up is the foundation of a looter shooter. As you play through the game, loot will drop from enemies and chests. Basically everything you do will yield loot. These look like small neon pyramids on the ground with diamond icons above them which can be seen through walls. Picking up loot is incredibly important because this is of course how you become more powerful. Your loot is broken down into your weapons. You have assault rifles, marksman rifles, snipers, shotguns, light machine guns, heavy pistols, machine pistols, autocannons, and grenade launchers. Keep in mind that some javelins can only use certain weapon types, but largely speaking, most of those are accessible to all. Each javelin also has 2 different ability slots. Think of these as your special moves. They can range from things like firing rockets from your shoulders or railguns from your wrist-mounted cannons to bringing down lightning storms or throwing out shuriken-like glaives as the interceptor. On top of that, you'll also have your support slot, which you can then use as an ability to aid your team in battle. Keep in mind that when you are choosing your abilities, while you are ultimately free to use whatever you want, it is worth noting that some of these do work well together. Some moves are known as detonators, some moves known as primers, and if you combine these together, you can create powerful, devastating combos. Using a primer ability to apply some sort of elemental status to your enemy, and then setting that off with a detonator ability is a great way to deal with some of the challenges that await you. If you want to know more about combos, you can check the combo video linked down below. Now, outside of your core abilities, you have access to crafting. Crafting is another means to progress your character and obtain more gear throughout the game. Crafting requires blueprints and materials. Blueprints are typically obtained via challenges and via faction loyalty. The way that it essentially works in-game is that if you obtain a weapon via a random drop, and you like that weapon, then by continually using that and completing the challenges associated with that weapon or that gear piece, you will then unlock blueprints that allow you to craft that at a higher level, essentially allowing you to carry that weapon throughout the game with you. This then means that when you head out into the world and you look for crafting materials, you dismantle items you don't want, you then have a continual means to create items that are important to you. Now, when you want to take things a little bit slower and you're not out in the world fighting the threats that await you, you can of course return to Fort Tarsis and speak to the people that inhabit it. And as part of this, you'll also encounter the factions. There are 3 main factions within Fort Tarsis: the Arcanists, the Sentinels, and the Freelancers. Arcanists will give you access to some cosmetic materials and sigil blueprints. These are once per mission consumables that can be applied to the expedition screen in order to boost your javelin's effectiveness. Sentinels will give you access to some more cosmetic materials and javelin specific component blueprints, and Freelancers also give you access to more cosmetic wear states and universal component blueprints. By speaking to them, completing their missions, you raise your reputation with them, so it pays to not necessarily always follow the golden line, but sometimes to take that extra time to speak to these people, do the task that they give you, if you really want to make the most of all aspects of the game.
Isn't that what friends are for?
Absolutely.
Loyalty comes in different forms. Sometimes it can be gained by doing agent missions and contracts for specific factions, participating in world events in free play, getting specific collectibles that further a faction's cause, as well as interacting with them simply around Fort Tarsis. Sometimes having conversations with people and of course helping them out in the process through conversation trees will also see your reputation increased.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
And then of course outside of that, as you begin to approach endgame, this is where you'll encounter strongholds, higher difficulties, and ultimately the endgame gear chase. Once you get to endgame, your main priority will be reaching the level cap. Using quick play to help out your fellow freelancers is actually a really good way to do this. Once you hit max level, you'll have access to Grandmaster difficulties. From here, it's recommended to run the 3 strongholds in order to get as much epic gear as possible. Then once you have the power to take on Grandmaster 1, you can start farming the strongholds in order to try and get hold of those coveted masterwork and legendary items. Masterworks and legendaries have powerful, game-changing effects on them, so you can begin to create and theorycraft unique and varied builds that change the way you play. Grandmaster 2 and 3 require a full team of well-coordinated complementary builds to complete, and reward yet more masterwork and legendary gear as a result. So while you will encounter your first stronghold a little bit earlier in the game, ultimately, these are things you'll be doing towards the end. And then finally, for those of you wondering what is next, Anthem is an evolving world with upcoming content. The world of Anthem is ever changing, and BioWare plan to support the game with many free content updates as the game continues its lifespan. Events called Cataclysms will ravage the land and give rise to new threats, and these are things that we have yet to experience but are on the horizon. So sit tight, gear up, and be ready for what's to come. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to check out some more awesome stuff from us here at Arekkz Gaming, then you should definitely try to catch 269 and Paradise Central streaming 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. They play a wide range of games, and what's more, we also have the Endgame store. By watching their streams, you earn currency, and you can redeem that currency on the Endgame store for really cool prizes. Those can range from things like games, comics, and figures, all the way up to controllers, capture cards, and even consoles. So definitely drop by and become part of the community. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you're subscribed and be sure to click on that little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss our next upload. You can watch more videos by clicking on the options here, but once again, thanks very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.